I am too. My name is Sue Englander. Good morning. And I welcome you to the 8th annual Howard Grayson LGBT Elder Life Conference. I know that's a mouthful, but you know, we as a community have a lot to say, so why not have a big title, right? I am the convener of the Howard Grayson LGBT Elder Life Conference, and I was a very good friend of Howard Grayson's, who I'd like to talk about first. On the back of your programs is a picture of Howard. He was a union activist in Local 250. He was a member of the Grey Panthers. He assisted elders in learning to use computers. He was a caregiver himself, and he helped Howard Wallace, our good friend. He was part of a care circle for Howard in the last year of his life. One night, we all met as a care circle to talk about how we were planning Howard's month, and Howard Wallace's month, and Howard Grayson did not show up, and that was really unusual for Howard. And then we couldn't get a hold of him and found out that he'd gone to Kaiser Hospital in an ambulance. And when we called Kaiser, they said, well, he's been discharged. We did not know that he had died in the emergency room. And because of HIPAA regulations, they could not tell us because we did not have Howard's power of attorney, and we also did not know who Howard's power of attorney was. It was Aaron Peskin, who Howard had lived in North Beach, who found out this information, was able to direct us to the person who was the power of attorney, and she was able to both claim Howard's body and tell us why it happened. So we were all, very jarred by this event, by the way this all came down. And then the next month, a group of elders in Florida lost their homes because the assisted care facility that they lived in went bankrupt and lost all of their money. And I said, so much is coming up for this community. We have to be present about talking about the issues as LGBT elders as we get older. So here we are. So certainly, we would love, this is a conference to honor Howard Grayson, his contribution to the community, and his legacy as an individual. He was not necessarily a community leader, but he was one of many of us who pushed the movement forward. Who I'd like to thank first are our sponsors for this year. Open House, who is, yes. And I should have put air conditioning on the publicity. Yes. Yeah. Paul Melbestat, attorney in trust law. Harvey Milk, LGBT Democratic Club. Home Match, our new sponsor for this year. Welcome, and go back to their table. Senior Disability Action. Harvey's Bars, which has donated a raffle prize. Castro Coffee, also a raffle prize. Hot cookies will arrive here at noon with hot cookies. Rainbow Grocery, which has provided us for free with all of the food you have today, and the California Association of Voting Officials. We would like to thank, first of all, the planning committee here. And I think I see Catherine in the back there. I'd like to present Jasmine G., one of our planning committees. And come on up, Catherine. Catherine Hans von Rothschild-Zittler, who is also on our planning committee. So welcome to these women did really hard work over the last few months. And I finally, of course, like to thank Sylvia Vargas, who was our contact at Open House, and our many volunteers who are going to be assisting you today.
Sylvia.
I would like to present our MC, Sean Haynes.
Yay!
Grand Marshals of the Pride Parade. Take it away, Sean.
Hi everybody, my name is Sean Haynes and I'm very happy and excited to be here because there are so many of our friends and community that I enjoy spending time with. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to see this event and to honor our community allies and people who have helped to make sure that this community stays strong. And I look to my elders all the time because you are where I draw my strength and inspiration for the fights that we all continue. And so I'd like to introduce one of our first speakers today, David Campos, who's going to take us into the next portion of today's event.
Great, thank you, Sean. Good morning. I really want to thank all of the organizers for its open house, for opening their doors to us. For those of us who knew Howard Grayson, it is really tragic to think about, how he passed and the circumstances around that. He really was a leader and a very kind soul who served other people. And I'm really proud of the fact and grateful for the fact that we had a very negative thing that happened with his passing and it's turned into something very positive so that we can actually have an open and honest conversation about how we serve our LGBTQ elders. And as a younger LGBTQ man, I'm very grateful for the sacrifices that the elder LGBTQ generation has made. And quite frankly, it's a necessary conversation. In San Francisco, we actually did a study with then Supervisor Wiener to understand a little bit more about the needs of the aging LGBTQ population. I work in Santa Clara County during the day. We're in the process of doing the same thing because it is something that needs to be talked about and something that we as a community have a responsibility to a generation that actually made it possible for so many of the younger generations to have the rights, to have the opportunities we have. So I'm very proud to be a part of this effort because of that. And so thank you to all of you who have been involved for so long. And the next portion of this event is to honor two pretty incredible people. And one of the amazing things about being a community that is disenfranchised and targeted is that I think that whether it's God, nature, or something, but it has a way of creating in these communities and bringing into these communities amazing people, right? Who allow these communities to actually push back and move forward. And the two individuals that we're going to honor are such human beings. Beginning, and we have the Shiro and Hero Awards, beginning with Felicia Elizondo. And let me say a little bit about Felicia, and I think that for many of us, she needs no introduction. You know about her. She's a Vietnam veteran who came to San Francisco to transition as a trans woman in the 1970s. Very different times. You imagine the courage that it takes to do something like that. She has worked in this community for so many years, dedicating herself to so many issues, including in particular the issue of AIDS. She has received the AIDS Hero Award from the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. She has received so many different awards, including the Spirit Award from Shanti. So Shanti actually got an award right. The Trailblazer Award from Open House. And the list goes on. And the reason why Felicia has received these awards is because she has been a relentless champion for the community, right? Performing in drag to raise money for AIDS. But whatever the issue is, when there is someone who is disenfranchised, you're going to see Felicia right there fighting for that individual, right? And it's not just the transgender community; it's any community in this city that has been targeted, that is struggling. Felicia has been there. And so it is only fitting that we give her this award. And what I would say on a more personal note for me as a Latino gay man, having a Latina, play the role that she has played has been a great source of pride for me. And the thing about Felicia is that as much as she has accomplished already, I know that there's still a lot more that she's going to do. She has more energy than most of us combined. So with that, let me introduce our recipient of the Shira Award, Felicia Elizondo.
Okay, my name is Felicia A. Elizondo. I'm also known as Felicia Flame. I'm an activist, an entertainer, a trailblazer, a historian, a pioneer, a legend, an icon, a diva, a 32-year survivor of AIDS, a Vietnam War veteran, and I've been fighting for us since I was a baby. Because at that very young age, when you know you're different, you don't know why you're different, you fight all this harassment, beating ups, and all this stuff, and getting thrown in jail because of who we were. I'm in the era where I came to San Francisco in the early 60s, where queer was against the law, dressing up was against the law, being a sissy was against the law, and I've survived it. I've just turned 73 years old. I'm in the process. Right now, I just came back from Los Angeles, where I filmed a series for FX channel. It will be in Pride for next year. Susan Stryker is going to be in that segment too. And I've been working very hard to make sure that our history will never be forgotten, because it was us that had the balls to stand up for who we were because of how horrible life was. We were, the girls from the Tenderloin came in word of mouth. It was not in the newspapers, it wasn't in the television, it was anything like that. It was word of mouth. The girls came to Jim Compton's cafeteria, was the center of the universe for us. And it was a revolving door where you came in and you walked out, or it was a community where we could speak to each other, that our families had thrown out like trash and didn't want us because we were sissies or queers. We were in a place where Compton's was, I know Latinas, I know Asians, I know white girls. I knew a lot of people that were there at the time. A couple of black girls dropped in once in a while. I mean, but not very often, because it was racism at that time. We were racist. No, it's not that we were racist, it's that the community was racist. And everybody the Asians got their own direct area, Latinas got their own, whites got their own, and blacks had their own. The only place that we could congregate and speak to each other was at Compton's. And that was the only place that we could go and feel safe. They wouldn't hire us, so we were either prostitutes or drug sellers. And the only place we felt young is when we took our boyfriends to Playland. If anybody knows Playland, that was the place to feel good, young, but we knew that we had to go back to the life of being a prostitute, and didn't know if we were going to make it through the night, and that's what Compton's was. We were a group of young kids that had been thrown out like trash, and we formed a community. And that's how the gay movement started in 1966, where the girls were tired of being harassed, thrown in jail, for obstructing a sidewalk, for anything they could find the cops could do. There was a lot of bars there in the Tenderloin, and the gay bars would not allow queens in their bar. So we had to get our own bar. that was Rossi's on the corner of Turk and Taylor. And a lot of the female impersonators like Vicki Marlene, Pat Montclair, all those girls, I got to meet the one and only Christine Jordan. There was a conference in San Jose, and all the queens went to see her, and she gave me a good advice. Just be who you were meant to be. And I am thrilled for this award. Come to my friends, Susan, Jasmine, and all the people that made it happen, because I performed last year as a female, a transsexual drag queen. I do shows for seniors, for holidays, to unlock Stepping Stone and Laguna Honda, because I know that they can't come out and enjoy the fun that we can do have, so I take great pride to them. It was with Bobby, Sheena, and who else is the one? Davida, and a lot of the other girls that have performed there, that we need to know that we can continue to give a place. Yes, I know. I want to make sure that our seniors have a place to enjoy themselves, and open house. I have been with open house since 2001. Me and Michelle used to go to all places to talk about this place, and it finally happened. And I'm thankful for open house, for Sylvia, for my friendly visitor, for my best friends, Didi Ubeda, who was the best cocksucker in the Tenderloin in the 60s. She's not here today, so I have to slap her for that. We've been friends for 52 years, and to have a friend for 52 years has been very lucky for me, because we can fight, do whatever, and still call each other the next day and say, hi, how are you? Thank you very much.
I don't know how you follow that. In terms of keeping the fire and the spirit of Compton, Felicia, thank you for doing that for so many years. The next person that we're going to honor is someone, quite frankly, that I personally think has not received all the credit that he deserves in terms of what he has accomplished for San Francisco, for the LGBTQ community, in progressive politics, and that's Harry Britt. We know the story of Harry Britt. He came here, he was appointed to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors by Dianne Feinstein. He was reelected 3 times. If you look at the body of work that Harry Britt had on the Board of Supervisors, it's really, I don't know how you find someone who can actually counter that. So many of the things that happened in San Francisco that are now landmark accomplishments happen because of Harry Britt, whether it's rent control, there is big the father of rent control, right, in California, and that is the issue today, affordability. Imagine how many people would have been kicked out of San Francisco but for Harry Britt. Domestic partner benefits, it happened way before anyone thought of it, and it happened because of Harry Britt. A lot of conversations about police reform, police brutality. Well, Harry Britt is the one who authored the legislation that got us to a system of civilian oversight. I mean, so many different things that Harry Britt. And the thing about Harry is that in the writing of history of the gay rights movement of Harvey Milk, I think those of us who actually know what happened know that Harry's accomplishment was not fully recognized, right? And so I think that, and part of it is because of his own humility. He's a very humble person. who doesn't really go out of his way to talk about all the things that he has done. And so I think it's really imperative for those of us who know the history to take the time to say, you know what, Harvey Milk was a very important figure, but in terms of who followed on those footsteps and took that torch and carried it forward, it really was Harry Britt who made that happen. And it is because of Harry Britt that so much progress has been made here in the city and county of San Francisco. And as a gay man, I can tell you that I would not be here today, having been elected a member of the Board of Supervisors, without the work that Harry Britt did. He was a trailblazer who opened the door for so many of us. And I am really just grateful that the universe, in a way, gave me the opportunity to say that today, because I think that we don't do enough as a community to recognize the legacy of those who sacrificed so much. And I'm grateful that some of his caretakers are here for the work that they're doing to help him, because if anyone deserves to live the last, hopefully, many years of his life, fulfilled and happy after everything he's done, is Harry Britt. So Harry, on behalf of all the elected queer family of San Francisco, we are here because of you. And with that, I want to honor our hero today, Harry Britt.
Touched. I did not know this was going to happen. And it means a lot to me that it did. I'm still a young guy. Because I didn't come out until I was an old man. And you have to start over. And starting over has been fun. Meeting new people, thinking new thoughts, realizing what a complete idiot you've been for so many decades, and wishing that, somehow it could have been different, but I'm not sure that would have been all right. I think being in the closet, it's like a cocoon, you don't want to stay there forever. You want to be a butterfly, but you can't fly until you've been provided with a comfortable place. And there's so many people before me who made San Francisco a very, very special place, and we should honor them always, because none of us would be able to do what we're doing now if it weren't for the great heroes whose names are familiar to many of you. I'm young now. I'm young as a gay man, because I haven't been a gay man for very long. Publicly, and I feel incredibly fortunate to have found a community that is every person here is a drama that goes back, that have things they don't want the rest of us to know about them in terms of their foolish, dishonest lives we used to live, and then that moment or months or years of coming to discover real life and real pride and a real ability through the AIDS experience of loving one another and of sharing in a kind of experience that you had to be like us to have. And I'm very grateful for San Francisco and the community here that has given me life beginning at a fairly old age. I'm loving every minute of it, and I love you all, and I trust that the next generation will follow in your footsteps and make San Francisco an even more special place than it is now.
I am very, okay. very exciting. We have Castro Coffee is one of our raffle prizes. Harvey's Bar Brunch Certificate. That sounds very yummy. And we have a Kelty backpack. I love backpacks because I love fashion. Good Vibrations pack. So I wonder what's going to be in that. And a Harvey Milk t-shirt, which are fabulous. I have one on my own. So you definitely want to take your opportunities to buy for these. And are we giving out tickets?
We are, our raffle mistress, Jasmine G, will be selling raffle tickets.
And how much are the raffle tickets?
$1 per ticket. However, if you want either Jasmine or one of the volunteers to measure your waist or your inseam, you get as many tickets as you can for $10.
There you go. That's also going to be very exciting. So that's $1 for raffle tickets or $10 for an inseam for those of you who are interested in that. And all the great prizes of coffee, birth certificate, a nice backpack, a good Creations backpack, and a Hartfield t-shirt. Next up on the schedule, and I'm so excited that this program is including the connection between the senior community and the youth community. And so there's an LGBT youth speaking their truth panel that's going to be moderated by our friend Catherine Hans Rothschild Zitzler. Did I get that right?
Catherine Hans Rothschild Zitzler right now.
Yes, 10 times bites. And on the panel is our dear friend Mia Satya, who's a former youth commissioner, and Orlin Riley and Sean Sean Purcell, and from CCSF Career Resource Center. So please come on up.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the this year's Heart Racing Conference. And as you know, this year the focus will be on generations of resistance. And to help me discuss that, today we have Mia, and Mia has been previously the Woman of the Year by the California State Assembly. She has also been kicking ass. She spoke at the Democratic Convention a few years ago. The incident at the airport not included. But we also have, she has also served on the Youth Commission, and she's been run for school board, and she's been a beacon of light in the LGBT community. And Mia, welcome. And we also have Orlan, and Orlan has been very active in helping many in the community receive the surgeries that they need, and also he's very active with helping and working with the elders in the community. And to you both, I say once again, welcome. Very well, let me start with you. When we look back in the over the years and the resistance movement, we look at the 70s. There was this period where the movement had this Christmas. It had an attitude. It was more like in your face. There was also a mystique about that era. Many people look at today's movement. They see a lot of mushy, lack of clarity. How would you, looking back at the 1970s, how would you define that era, and what do you think is missing from today's movement?
Well, I think I'm from Texas, and so I grew up in a conservative environment where we didn't have much community, and I think that helps shape any movement that you have. And so back in the 70s, people were just struggling to be alive. And there wasn't, we didn't have like resource centers. We didn't have all the resources that we have today. And so that's always going to affect how a movement kind of looks. Whereas today, you know, people are, you know, there's so many new identities, and everybody is kind of like trying to make a space for themselves and their own particular issues. And it seems like the more rights and the more privileges that we gain, the less sense of community we seem to hold together. We tend to have a lot more infighting today, I think, than we used to, at least publicly. It seemed like there was just a little more unification kind of back in the day because you had to be. Because you couldn't sit there and argue because one person's a gay man, one person's a lesbian, one person has to be trans. You didn't have the space or the safety to sit there and argue with each other. It was like, no, you know what, we're all gonna die. We need to come together and we need to make this happen. Whereas today, now we have, at least in San Francisco and the Bay Area, we have a lot more safety, a lot more freedoms. And that gives us the freedom to hate each other and to fight amongst each other and to kind of push each other away. Like, no, I need the spotlight today because I'm really hurting. But everybody's still really hurting. And as a community, we still need that power that we get when we come together as a community and attack these problems.
Mia, what would you add there?
Yeah, I'm also from Texas, grew up in a small conservative town, and one of the reasons I moved to San Francisco was after reading Susan Stryker's book about the Compton's cafeteria riot and really learning that this is where my history, maybe it didn't start, but it was certainly one of the matches that ignited the flames of our movement. We know trans people have been around forever. I think I share some of the concerns that were just said. I think one of the other main differences I noticed between the generations of activists fighting for our community are issues of intersectionality and how there are some perceptions that movements in the 60s or 70s or 80s were very focused on specific issues, and sometimes that resulted in folks saying, you know, actually we're trying to get gay and lesbian, you know, rights right now, like let's come back for trans people and bi people later. And I think we're at a place where we don't tolerate that as much now, I hope.
You know, it's very interesting. First there was Harriet Britt, and Orion, I know you. Texas, I've always been Texas, I must make this observation before continuing. Texas, I've seen consistently produce great LGBT leaders. Yeah?
I'm from Texas too.
Yeah?
We're running away from Texas.
We have what, 4 people in the room, all from Texas, all great LGBT leaders. Lightning strikes once or twice, but not 4 times. There we go. So, you mentioned intersectionality. Yeah. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that for me, or for the others?
Can you use the mic too, because your hand is moving here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to me, you know, intersectionality was a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, and it means that, you know, to me as a white person, I can face a lot of privileges when I go shopping. I don't have anyone follow me in the store. When I am interacting with the police, I don't have to worry about my skin color, you know, ending up getting me in trouble. But, you know, at the same time, you know, as a low-income person, as a survivor, as a trans person, I can also be oppressed on the same shopping trip to the store. You know, now to me what intersectionality means is that we can fight for workers' rights, women's rights, the environment all at the same time. And sometimes, you know, saying, actually, let's just talk about sexual harassment in the workplace and not talk about how the workplace that we're at is like destroying the environment. There's opportunity to talk about all of that.
Orion, you want to elaborate on that also?
On intersectionality?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an extremely important sort of direction that these movements have gone. It's always existed. You know, there were always people of color that were also LGBT, or low-income people that were also LGBT. So intersectionality, you know, people have always faced these problems. You know, it's very rare to only have one thing that's working against you in this life. And so I think it's really important to I think it's nice that we have this focus kind of on it. You know, in the women's movement, you know, they were working on equal pay. And that's great, you know, white women got paid one thing, but then we had to start paying attention because women of color were getting paid something even less than the white women were. And so without intersectionality, we were only going to be focused on the white women. We were never going to, you know, stop and look at what about women of color? What about queer women? You know, and so I think intersectionality is a really valuable tool in sort of all of our movements, and I'm really glad that it's getting a lot more attention. I'm sure everybody is.
Excellent. You know, one of the questions that the community has always faced over the years is the issue of race. Whether it's the 1960s, 1970s, or even today, there's always this issue that the racism has been pushed under the rug. Do you want to comment on that? First, let me start with you, ma'am.
I mean, I always start this discussion with the fact that the United States was founded on the enslavement of indigenous people and descendants of Africa, and that, you know, forced displacements and slavery are what built this country. So, you know, I support reparations, I support other forms of fundamentally changing our economy to acknowledge the ways in which our economy was built to support white people. And what was the question?
The issue of, you know, racism
Yes.
and being pushed under the rug. And how can we can bring it out in the open to have an open discussion on that issue?
I mean, it's an interesting time where we have, you know, Pose on TV, where we have the largest ensemble of trans actors in history, but more specifically trans actors of color. And at the same time, we can also go to a MAGA rally and see trans people there, completely, you know, either willfully ignorant or, you know, some form of delusional on the ways that this regime is oppressing trans people, and that of course includes trans people of color as well.
All right.
Yeah. So it's weird because, you know, we're white, and so to be talking about this issue, it's like clearly not our place. But me and I also saying that we have had specialized training around white privilege and how to step back and allow people of color to kind of move forward. I think, you know, I went to the Oakland Trans March, and they had their first trans march this year in history. And one of the things that I was really struck by and really, really proud of for Oakland was they really focused trans people of color. And like, it wasn't just, they weren't just saying it, they really did it. It was led by both trans men and trans women and non-binary people of color. And then when we were actually doing the march, they made a specific statement, you know, trans people of color to the front. And then even in the middle of the march, we're in the middle of the street, and they stopped the march, and they were like, look, where are all the trans people of color? You need to come up to the front of the march. And we stopped the march, and we gave that space. And then you saw all these trans people of color that, you know, had been stuck in the back, maybe didn't feel like they deserved to be in the front. You know, we were going to stop, and we were going to wait for them. And they moved to the front, and it was, that space was just literally created. And we may have to stop a few times to recreate that space and be like, no, seriously, there's a safe space. And we want trans people of color to the front. Because right now, you are being honored. And right now, the space is being created for you. And I think that's the kind of stuff we're going to have to do to try to get some sort of equity as far as the race issue goes within any community, but especially LGBT communities.
Thank you very much for that answer. Going forward, you look at the symptoms and you look at the issues now. What are some of the things that we can learn from the symptoms and how can we plan today in the way we go about doing our generation of resistance and continuing this kind of leadership onto the next generation?
Can we ask the audience this? I want to. So I was also at others there hanging out with us as well. So it's interesting to be on the other side where we're exchanging. I don't know. Is it okay to ask the audience?
Yes, well, there will be time when we open to the audience. So let's, when I start with the panel first, then we open to the audience.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, sure. The issue was in the 70s, they moved to the 70s, and what can we learn from that? Those moving from the 70s, and is there anything that we can apply today going forward?
I think, one of the big things we learned from the movements of the 70s is, they had to exist so that our movements can even begin today. Because, I got to start from a place that I didn't earn when I came into this world. And I got to start from that place because my elders sat there and they fought. Because they had it 10 times worse than I ever will have it. Just like the people in the future are going to have it easier because of work that I've done. It's helped move them forward and give them all these unearned privileges because of the work that I did. And I think one of the things we learned from our past movements and stuff is, what works, what doesn't work. We learned, seeing the past movements, we learned, the whole issue of intersectionality. People get left behind. It tends to be white focused, and the white people tend to move forward better. Male, it tends to be there's sexism in the movements. The men tend to get more rights before the women do. And so I think one of the things we're learning is how can we create a movement where everybody gets lifted up consecutively instead of this piecemeal of let's put white people first and let's put males first, let's put rich people first. How can we include everybody in a movement so that everybody can come together and sort of get their rights and sort of get to live in a society that welcomes everybody and allows for everybody, no matter who that is, as well as creating a society where we don't even know the different people that exist, because we only know the ones of us that are visible, the ones of us that have enough power in the society to exist. And so we can create a society that welcomes everybody. As new identities come up, and as we learn about new people that exist, we'll create a society that already welcomes them. And it's like, oh, that's wonderful. This is who you are? Wonderful. Here is your place. And here's your equal opportunities to everything. So that's what I would like to do.
Oh. One of the main issues that the movement faces today is issue of corporations. Many people think that the movements have become too corporatized. Do you think that should be an issue, or do you think that we should embrace corporations and take their money, and is there a good or bad to that? Me first.
Yeah. So I'm a socialist. I'm also a shopaholic. I consider myself a champagne socialist because I want everyone to be able to have champagne. And I think, ask me a couple of years ago how I felt about this, and you might have got a different answer. I think the example of Pride, continues to come up as one of these examples of, receiving corporate sponsors. I think, yes, there are some of those corporations that are not doing great things for our community or for the planet. One way to look at this is, kind of acting as Robin Hood and taking funds that these corporations are not paying in taxes and taking that back to support meaningful work in our community. So, we know that Pride, Folsom, these other, community events funnel millions of dollars back to community organizations that provide for seniors, for youth, for folks with disabilities. So while I don't think it's, I think it's a part of our short-term solution, but that we have to have more, long-term visions, which includes, strengthening labor organizations, strengthening workers' rights, and providing economic security for everyone.
Just want to echo a beautiful answer, man. Thank you. I think as far as the corporations, I think it's a problem because a lot of these corporations are only LGBT friendly or Pride, and they don't put in the work, during the rest of the year. And so I hate to give them all that free advertising all that advertising and all that visibility when they aren't showing up for our people, year round. I would much rather support, smaller organizations that maybe can't donate quite as much money, but that actually put in the work to help support us. They give us jobs, they give us health care, they give us health care that pays for our surgeries. We need, if we don't support the people that are supporting us, then they're not going to still have those resources and that ability to continue to support us. So I would really like to see Pride kind of push the corporations out and kind of make it way more, especially in San Francisco, we can make it very local. There's enough local businesses supporting us. There's enough Bay Area support that we don't need to reach out to these huge corporations. And then I think that would help kind of bring the sense of community back to Pride, which is really missing with this corporate-run Pride that we have now.
Thank you, both of those are beautiful answers. Another thing that keep recurring is, okay, we have the 60s and the 70s, we have the 80s, we have now. Where do you think the movement should go from here? And what is your message to the future generations?
Yes. So I'm thinking of, someone can shout out if you know where this art installation was, but somewhere vaguely in Europe there was this sculpture of these people where you could just kind of see their heads, and they're all clustered in this group arguing at each other with their hands in the air, and they're drowning because the ocean levels are rising. And I always go back to this, conversation that I had with a stranger at the time, and has now become a good friend, after a panel where, to me, I really think where we're going as a community is we have to acknowledge not just LGBT rights, but environmental rights and economic justice and racial justice. We've made a lot of progress over the past couple of decades, but to me that doesn't mean a whole lot if, only the richest of the rich are going to be able to live peacefully and survive on this planet. I can't even think about having kids on this dying planet. So to funnel all of our energy into just fighting for equal rights isn't going to save the planet. And so I think that we can, fight for environmental justice, support candidates, support plans that will make, get us closer to reducing our carbon footprint. That's where I would like to see us go.
When I add on to that, I guess one thing I'd like to see us do in the future is I would love to see there be a lot more love in our community. I feel like, from the outside we get so much hate, and when you get all that hate put on you, I feel like then it's just so natural for us to turn around and we put hate on each other. And I feel like that's where a lot of our conflicts come from. And if we could have this movement within our movement of self-love, and if we all loved ourselves, there just wouldn't be room for us to sit there and hate on each other. And instead we want to support each other. And we want to bring people up. Oh, are you a person of color? Let me help bring you up because I'm white and I have privilege in that way. Oh, are you cisgender? Or are you transgender? I'm cisgender. Let me help pull you up a little bit because I have this sort of privilege. And we wouldn't feel resentful. It wouldn't be a competition because we would love ourselves and we would love each other and we would want to help each other. And I feel like that would help us because right now our community is just getting so divided. And in ways we need that because we need to bring attention to people that were being ignored in the past. But we also have to eventually come back together because we need that political power. We are more powerful together. LGBTQIAAP, whatever you want to use whatever letter you are in our our little thing. We need attention, individual attention for all that, but we need that greater group to go to the politicians, to go to Washington, to demand our rights, demand what we need. And we need all of us fighting for all of us. And I think the only way that's really going to happen is when we learn how to love ourselves, and then we're able to love each other, and then we just naturally want to help bring each other up.
All right. In the next segment, I'm going to open it up to the audience. But one more thing for the audience. I want to bring it back to circle back to the issue of the Democratic Party. Many people think the Democratic Party has, in many ways, taken many communities' votes for granted. Whether it's the African American community, whether it's the Latino community, or even the LGBT community. My question to you both is, what would you say to the National Democratic Party leadership, and what do they need to do to ensure your
Yes, I'll take this first. So, I've been an activist since I was 14, and I had been to hundreds and hundreds of rallies, and, organized events myself, hundreds of events before I went to my first Democratic event. And it was because, when I would look on paper at who was supporting the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, I could see that they had a lot of the same donors, and that they both preserved the interests at the status quo, environmental degradation, keeping the working class down. And, I also believe that dissent is the highest form of patriotism, that to me, critiquing, yes, thank you. We have a sticker over here. So to me, I critique America because I love in it. I love it. I'm American. I believe in the American people. I believe that we can be a hell of a lot better. And so, yeah, we can be better.
I guess the Democratic Party just kind of disappoint me. I just want them to get stronger. Every once in a while they'll float out the good ideas and then they'll backtrack, like, oh, maybe not enough people will support it. But we really just need a party that has the guts to say what America actually needs to do, instead of sitting around waiting for everyone to change their mind, and then they're like, oh yeah, now we need equal rights. Oh yeah, now women should be able to vote. No, we need people that are willing to stand firm in those convictions before they become popular. Get those ideas out there now, because I think those ideas do resonate more with people. It's just nobody's brave enough to really stand behind them and really go out there and try for them. And also, I think the other problem with the Democrats is they're, what Mia's talking about, they're all owned by the same people. It's the same donors that own both political parties. I mean, we're only ever going to get so much change out of them until we change who owns them and who's pulling the puppet strings of our politicians.
All right. Very good. Thank you both. Now, I would like to open up to the audience. So if you have a question or comment, please step forward. And,
Thank you.
get the mic. When you finish, back the mic.
Thank you very much talking about people of color. I'm a Native American activist, and for the longest time, Native American were not invited. We were creating change, they invited Muslim, they invited Buddhists, but never Native American. So what we did, we protest, right? Because we're First Nation people, we should be the first one to be acknowledged. This is our land. So creating change invited us, and from there we started going to Pride, because at that time Pride never had Native American or Two-Spirit people. I put Two-Spirit, and then we went to Trench March, then we went to Dyke March. So please, please don't forget us, because when they talk about people of color, they said African American, Latino, Asian, and others. We're not others, we're First Nation people.
I want to comment on that and say thank you for saying that, because in the classes I've taken around race, it was the exact same way. Native Americans were erased. They talked about African Americans, Latinx people, Asian, but Native American did not come up, and that disturbed me. And so I can only imagine. So thank you so much for coming up and being visible.
Okay. And I want to personally thank you for your input.
Yes. This is for our panelists. I forgot if you made any reference to how the seniors of the community has helped you to become who you are today.
Yeah, well, a lot of who I am is because of seniors. Felicia, Jasmine, Sue, like tons of people came in and kind of took me under their wing and kind of have helped support me. And I came to San Francisco from Texas trying to escape a bad situation. I needed to transition. There were all these things that I've had to go through. Low income, I was homeless. And if it wasn't for one, obviously the seniors that created that path so I could even come to San Francisco, so that I could even transition. If it wasn't for the trans seniors, that path wouldn't even be open to me. It wouldn't have been a possibility. But then once I got here, to also have people step up and take me in and help teach me my own history. Like I didn't have a sense of self, I didn't have self-esteem, and I didn't know anything because the cis world doesn't teach you your history. It's not out there anywhere. And so hearing, that we've been around forever and that we fought fights and that we stood up for ourselves and all these accomplishments that so many different people have made in, the LGBT history, that was just amazing to hear it firsthand and seeing that we can live a long life. I used to always assumed I'd die young because, queer people don't make it to be old. But then apparently here I am seeing these seniors that fought tooth and nail to be alive and stay alive, and they're alive and they're thriving and they're sharing their stories and their hardships, and it makes me appreciate how much easier I had it. Because sometimes I feel sorry for myself. I'm like, it's so difficult. But I know that there are other people that had it a million times worse than me that made it so that I could have this struggle that I'm going through right now. And so my entire existence rests on the shoulders of these seniors that have created this space for me.
May I want to
I think that was fully encapsulated.
Right. Anyone else?
Hi everyone. My name is Ellen. My personal gender pronouns are she, her. I would like to ask, because you are younger people, what you are planning to do to help older people in the community and people in general to learn how to overcome ageism and age segregation.
I can start that, yeah. I've never used a microphone before. I've certainly really experienced a lot of, I've witnessed a lot of ageism coming from both directions to some extent, and I think one of the things that I have found the most inspiring in my time in San Francisco has been the Trans Youth and Elder Brunch. And I think that creating that intentional collaboration between Lyric and Open House to have these intergenerational dialogues between seniors and young people in our community is, when that happened the first time, I just remember feeling how rare these conversations really are, because our community is really isolated in terms of age, race, class, gender. Most of the LGBT bars in San Francisco are not LGBT, they are gay oriented. We lost our only trans bar, and that's also recognizing that a lot of the places that we build community does revolve around alcohol. And so how do you have these conversations between young people, between seniors and people in the middle and beyond? So I think we need to have more mentorship programs. You know, one of the things I just want to give a shameless plug for that we're doing at the San Francisco LGBT Center is we have launched a host homes program. And I think that this is another really exciting opportunity to really build mentorship and community between generations. And what these host home programs look like is a young person, 18 to 24, who is in between places, and maybe they you know, are about to go to school in the fall and they just need a place for a couple of months, or you know, some reason they need a place. And you know, we're currently in the process of looking for folks with empty rooms in San Francisco. And so if someone you know has an empty room, I hear, you know, there's lots of empty rooms in San Francisco, we would love to collaborate with y'all, and we're just across the street, so yeah.
I think we're gonna have to sort of address it the way we address a lot of the inequalities. Like when it comes to race, if you're a white person, you try to help push people of color forward and give them the room and the space to share their ideas. I think we have to do that with you know, all the different ages, especially our elders and our youth. We need to be very, very conscious when we are doing things, that we just make that conscious effort to reach out and include, you know, the different groups, include our elders in what we do. Today I learned a very disturbing fact that the Compton's transgender district in the Tenderloin was created without actually including the elders that were part of the Compton's cafeteria fight. And I think that's disgusting, you know? It breaks my heart that, you know, we get so caught up in ourselves we don't stop to think about, you know, all the other people that were involved in that, especially the people that were actually sitting there fighting the Compton's cafeteria riot, that were actually in that riot. How you forget to include those people is beyond me, but that's exactly the kind of problems we're gonna have to overcome. We have to make a conscious effort to include everybody, and we need to make sure that age is included in those groups that we're consciously trying to include.
So recently on Netflix, Tales of the City, there's an interesting interchange between a group of elder cis white males and a younger man. And the younger man attacked these older people for their use of the word tranny. Tranny. And I supported that view of it. I mean, I was like, yeah, good for him for saying that. But then I thought it was interesting that the writers also gave space for the fact that we did something as elders as well, regardless of our race. That Harvey Milk and Harry Britt and the other white gay men had also done something too, and many of them had died as well. Which kind of leads into a point in which sometimes, when David Campos was speaking, I said to Mia, aren't we supposed to use Latinx instead of Latino or Latina? But that said, I, as an older person, I'm turning 60 this month, my language is different than the language of young people. And sometimes I see, you know, people using different language, like from our generation, the older folks, being attacked because we don't understand newer forms of language. John Waters, the film director, made some missteps on radio referencing the transgender community, and I think was pretty viciously attacked, when instead perhaps a more friendly interchange of educating each other in language. Because if I'm being attacked, I might withdraw. Like, I don't want to be attacked and fought, and you know, it feels like it's violence against me. Instead, maybe there could be gentler, nicer ways in which we could learn how to communicate with each other instead of doing that sort of thing.
Anyone have any comments?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a wonderful, wonderful point. Even myself on my transgender journey, you know, I've been, by people younger than me, I've been called out and been like, you know, I use terms like transsexual. Like, ooh, you're not allowed to use that term anymore. But it's like, you know what, this is my journey. And I'm allowed to use whatever term I want to do to identify myself. But I've had, you know, people, you know, in high school or whatever be like, oh, you're just old, you don't understand anything anymore. And so, even at my age, I've experienced ageism. Nothing like, you know, what other people experience. But like, I know what you're talking about where, you know, and the word training, like somebody just decided to take that word away from me. Like suddenly I'm not allowed to use it anymore. And I'm not okay with that. And I know people that identify, that is their identity. And when you are abused and you are put down with a certain word and you reclaim that word, and that word becomes your empowerment, nobody has the right to take that word away from you. It's just one more form of discrimination. And I think that is one of the things I would love to be able to tell, you know, generations coming up that we really need to be careful of is don't attack the people that came before you. We are changing words almost daily. The word I use today that's being videotaped, they're gonna look at this in like 20 years and be like, oh my God, he's such a bigot. Such a bigot. You believe the word he used. So I mean, it just happens. And I think what's good too is now we're seeing that. It's like, okay, you know, these words are gonna continually change, a new, better word's gonna continually come up, we're gonna learn something new. Don't hate on people. Look at their intention. Look at people. Let's take the patience to educate. You know, this we call it call-out culture, and it's gotten ridiculous. We were so angry, and we were so hateful, and we just turn it on each other, and we just attack each other for no reason, and we're not helping the movement, we're not helping the cause, and we're definitely not helping each other because we all get attacked daily. We don't need to be attacking ourselves, so each other. So yeah, I agree. Thank you for bringing this up.
The gentleman, come forward.
I think that we have to allow each other our ignorance. I know, I'm 73, I've been here over 50 years, so I saw it, you know, when there weren't windows in bars. And I thought we were doing it for everybody. So years later, when I walked into Orphan Andy's at 3 in the morning with a black friend, and the entire restaurant went silent and everybody turned and looked, that's when I realized that we hadn't been doing it for everybody. So, but I think we have to allow each other our ignorances. If you don't know, you don't know. And that, I'm agreeing with what you were saying, that we have to bring each other along. We have to lovingly educate each other. That's enough.
Thanks, gentlemen. Let's get the lady and then we get Sean, right?
Hi, I'm also involved with the Asian community. I'm Filipino and Papua New Guinea. And I would like to share to you a story. In 1994 was the year of the dog. The dog represented loyalty. Now, we had a lot of young people helping us out. See, they do graffiti. At that time, I didn't understand. But guess what they did? They made a costume for us. It's called Phoenix, Rising from the Dust. And so we had a lot of dead thread. We went to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. The first thing they said, they don't allow gay people, LGBT, to be in the parade, and we questioned them. This is the year the dog is supposed to be loyal to your family. And so they let us go in the parade. When we went to the parade, we had the police escorting us. When we went to Chinatown, we had our masks on. We got the names of people in Chinese who could not be there for fear for their life. Then when we went to Chinatown, this is in 1994, the year of the dog, they said in Chinese, they said in Japanese, and in English, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the gay people in this parade. So the elders stood up and bowed down to us. And what we did, we took our masks out so that they can see us, who we are, that we are your family. Chinese New Year. And guess what? That has been our tradition that LGBTQ will be in Chinatown. So because of collaboration between the elders and the young people, like I say, I didn't understand how they do their art, but we did, they make us a costume. It was phoenix rising from the dust. And we put our mask on. They said, put your mask on. But once you get to Chinatown, take your mask off and show your face who you are. And guess what? The Chinese, the elders stood up and bowed. The same year, they had the Irish parade, and the gay people were not allowed in the Irish parade. The same year. They asked us what we did. What we did is we went to the elders out of respect. And we told them, this is the year of the dog. You're supposed to be going to your family. Why do you go against your tradition? And that's how we got our respect. So when the young people and the elders work together, it's the most powerful thing I ever seen in my whole life. And guess what? Together we can work together, and it's the most powerful thing. We could learn from each other. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I wanted to take my MC hat off for just a second because there was a mention of cultural districts in San Francisco. I'm excited to let you know that I'm a part of Castro's cultural district, and that San Francisco has 3 LGBT-oriented cultural districts between the Compton's Transgender Cultural District, Castro LGBT Cultural District, and the Leather LGBT Cultural District. And cultural districts are something that is relatively new in San Francisco. That was legislated by Hillary Rodham, and that legislation changed how cultural districts come into implementation and how they are proposed to support our communities. And I heard that message that there were some challenges with the transgender cultural district, and as the outreach person for the Castro Cultural District, that we have been doing our due diligence to reach out to a very wide spectrum of our LGBT community so that we can address the issues and concerns for the Castro, which are similar to all of our other LGBT communities, that there are issues with diversity and inclusion and making sure that everybody is invited to the table. But for our Castro Cultural District, and this is something that I take to heart because I have heard from all of our community, and when I say I have heard from all of our communities, because I've gone to different parts of our community to let them know that the Castro is prepared to make sure that its leadership and representation is as diverse and inclusive as possibly can be. As we have heard from the youth, even younger than the youth that we have here today, that they want a connection to their elders, and so we are very much committed to making sure that we can help with everybody else's assistance to create that connection. But we've heard from women in our trans community that for the Castro, it just hasn't often been the most inviting or inclusive place. So together with everybody's support, because we needed you all at the table, we want to recreate our communities through these cultural districts to make sure that our communities become much more diverse and inclusive, and that the underrepresented communities, people who have not often had the opportunity to use their voice to make a difference in how we all come together to make our future brighter than our present and definitely brighter than our past. So that's something I want to put to you all, that there are on the exhibitor area some information sheets for the Castro Cultural District. We have meetings. We actually have one coming up next week on the 18th. So you are all invited to come to the LGBT History Museum, where we are having our community meeting, as we've had many. We've had people across the spectrum of youth and orientation and everything that you can imagine. But we're going into a process where we're seeking people to be the official advisory committee, and I'm definitely looking for everybody to take use of that opportunity to vie for those roles, because we need not only the elected leadership, but we need people to come into the various committees to help us address our issues around cultural competency, which we heard a lot about in our speak today, but issues around tenants protections and workforce development, because we know that we have a lot of issues with businesses in our community closing. Businesses that you all patronized over the years that are just vanishing in addition to our community, that we're now fighting very diligently to make sure that we have a future in our city. Instead of districts that represent our past, I want them to represent our future in terms of our living vibrant cultural district. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, we have space for one more question from the audience. Anyone? Sure.
Hello, my name is Robert, and I have really enjoyed what was being discussed, especially from the young panel here. One thing I would like to ask, though, is that Black trans women are being harmed and killed in this country. I was wondering, why was it not possible to get a Black trans person here? And from what I gathered, that you deal with Oakland, and I was wondering why that wasn't possible so you wouldn't have to be able to be put on the spot about talking about issues about Black people and trans people. And, and that's the problem I seem to have in San Francisco. And I've been here since the 60s. I'm 74 years old. I remember the Paradox. Anybody remember the Paradox? All right. So I just, the inclusive element is very important, but sometimes I get very disheartened in San Francisco because I don't really, it's a lot of talk, but not a lot of action. Thank you.
Jeff?
In our program, we did have a Sean Purcell, who is African American youth from City College, Career Resource Center. For some reason, he couldn't make it at the last minute. He was eager to come, and we did have Sean as our MC. And we tried to get diversity. I want to make a comment that Nia is mixed, although she looked white. She had so we try to be conscious of getting diversity. So I thank you for that concern.
Okay. Okay. Once again, I want to take time to thank the panel, Mia and Orlan, for coming and for their input. In closing, I am Robert Catherine Hunt from Washington, the Rothschild. And yes, even though I'm a Rothschild, I don't want to rule the world. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for your input and thank you for your time. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
So we are actually going to change up our program just a little bit. We're going to invite up to the stage comedian Karen Ripley.
So Karen's been a part of our conference for many years. But even more than that, I remember seeing Karen at least 35 years ago when she was making the rounds of the LGBT comic community with Tom Amiano and Monica Palacios and a whole range of a new generation of American comics from the LGBT community. So with that, I'd like to welcome Karen.
Oh, boy. I'm gonna put this down and pretend it's a microphone stand. Hi on camera, yeah. My head is spinning already. I don't know where Mia and Oren are. Oh, I don't know what to call you, but I got your back. Just know that. Everyone in the room, I don't know I'm not from Texas. I'm just kind of a basic old white woman. I'm sorry. You're not alone. I think our hearts are in the right place. I discovered discovered I have a lot in common with a smartwatch recently. We both need lithium. Not really. I'm here tonight at your cervix. And I love that joke. Well, you know, I'm thinking all this history, oh my God. When we came out to our families, when we did, telling my folks, I was 18, I called them all up, it was 1968, I said, I'm gay. My mother says, well, if you need psychiatric help, we'll try to pay for it, but it's so expensive. My stepfather said, oh shit, when I was in the army, and my mother said, Floyd! My father, oh, don't worry about it, Karen. When you have sex and then you fall asleep, it doesn't matter who you do it with. You know, we had to live through all of this. Oh, God, I remember during the middle of the AIDS epidemic. I'm at Valencia Rose, and then I'm at Josie's, and we were creating places. Let me say first, though, I must honor the original comedians of our community were the drag queens. They were the funniest thing out there. Whether it was any gay comedy, the queens were hysterical. They were dancing, oh my God. But I can remember, I'm at Josie's, I'm looking out in this room full of young men, sunken eyes, losing hair, blotches, and you're up there going, how the f*** am I supposed to be funny? And then KQED does a public service spot. We're going to show you how to properly put on a condom. All right, we're trying to save lives. So they use a banana. The United Banana Organization from South America threatens KQED. Do not use a banana. Get a cucumber. Use a different image. There was a time realtors in the state of Texas tried to pass a law that if they sell you, if you have AIDS and you own a home and you sell your home, you must inform the new tenants that the former tenants have or had AIDS. I'm like, how, why? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe, are they licking the toilet? Are they, I couldn't figure that one out. I could not get it. All the shit we went through. I know. But here we are. I'm 69. I made it this far. I'm surprised. And I thought, well, I'm going to start dating again. It's been a while. I took a break from all that. Been sleeping with Bert and Ernie. And, or Ben and Jerry, I should say. And so now I'm 69. Okay, I'm going to start dating again. And I go on a date with a woman. She's a dietitian. We go to the farmer's market. She says, what's your relationship to food? I said, I like food. I like food a lot. I said, are you referring to vegetables? I mean, I had a cucumber named Betty once, but, it wasn't a banana after the cucumber. No, then, seriously, then I went out with another gal, and I said, look, I'm 69, I don't have time to wine and dine. Let's just get to the point. You want to be intimate? She said, what'd you have in mind? Would you cut my toenails? I can't get down there no more. We have the same bullshit in the lesbian community. You have to sleep on your side. No, you can't wear a rubber dick. No, because that's too much like being a man and a woman. Well, a lot of us like a rubber deck. I go to buy a rubber deck. I go to the store. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I go in and I go, I need a ding dong. She says that's next door. She says that's next door. That's weird. I go next door and I swear to God there is a Chinese restaurant named King Dong. I go back and I go, I didn't want Chinese food, you know, a ding dong, you know, that's what my mother called it, a ding dong. She goes, oh, over here, right? So of course there's a room with every kind of ding dong you can possibly imagine nowadays. You know, you can fuck with the corn on the cob. You know, if it works, it's the same shit. You know, fucking or shucking or the little dolphin. They got the little flipper. You know, if you're like into that. Okay. So everything you could imagine, you can put in there. And so I see this cute little brown one. I went, that's cute. I think that's perfect. So she goes, you gotta try it on. And I'm, oh, that's right. So I'm in there trying it on, and I like the way this feels. I'm gonna wear it home. Well, we were poor where I grew up. No, we got something new. School shoes or something. I wore them things right out the store. Every time I got something new, I'm wearing them. Right now, I ain't waiting. What should I wait? So I leave the store, and I come out, and lo and behold, no sooner do I get out of there, and my ding dong popped out of the harness and fell on the ground. And I'm like, okay. And all the people in the Chinese restaurant are looking at me, and I know they think it's a turd. You can't tell from a distance. And I had a plastic bag in my pocket. I thought, well, I'm just gonna pick it up and tie a little knot. Walk to my car. And a man came up to me and he said, hey, where's your dog? Oh, my dog. You go that way, I'll go this way. It's not easy being a dyke. You know, I mean, it wasn't easy. Yeah, people, what's in your bag? It's a dick. No, okay. Where am I going? I don't know. I have a gay male roommate, and he's been using the testosterone patch, and I've been using the nicotine patch. We got them mixed up. He puts on the nicotine patch, he runs around the house, bitching, eating everything. I put on the testosterone patch. I got a raise, a company car. I slept with the neighbor lady, but it's all right. People. Oh, what should I say? I got so many damn jokes I can't keep straight. Getting older has been a journey. I tried to grow old with grace. Bitch won't speak to me. You know, if you're in your 30s and 40s, just enjoy yourself. I ain't lying. Go out and do it all. I mean, even when you're older, but I have the hip, I got the foot, I got the wrist. You line up at night at my house. I'm the youngest person in my house. Okay, I live with seniors. We call it the wrinkled palms, is what we call it. And we line up in the bathroom, and what do you need? Motrin, Vicodin? What do you guys think? Gotta go to sleep, okay. And we do the best we can. Whoever's feeling good does the dishes. So, but it's this interesting journey of changing. All of a sudden I get jowls, and I'm like, where's that? I look at my sister, I go, where do we get jowls from? I think Mom fucked a squirrel. You get skin tags all of a sudden. And you know, you stand out, you get out of the shower, and you got these tags. And then I look like a pregnant chihuahua. It's true. The hearing goes a little, some of these things. My sister, watching a Giants game, he comes up to the plate and she goes, oh, there's underpants. Underpants? You mean hunter pants? and you know, sex changes for a while, but not forever. I know there was a period there where I was like, how come I'm not having orgasms? Did I break it? Did I use up my quota? All these hormone changes, it comes back, believe me, it comes back. But, you're like, you get in your 50s, 60s, and people say, oh, Karen, don't worry. You're going to get a whole new wave of sexual energy. Yeah. Just like when you were in your 20s. Now, you're going to be obsessed with sex. It'll come out. Wrong. I'm obsessed with sleep. I know, walk around all day going, ooh, when am I going to get some? What will I be wearing when I get it? What position will I be in? Used to go into the bars and go, hey, you three alone? Now I go up to the girl and I go, you want to take a nap? It's all right. It's all good. It's all good. We have survived so much in this town and throughout the country. I am just beyond proud of my community and the changes in the last 50, 60 years. It's just unheard of. We all need one of those little glass, whatever it was, a wart. Pretty glass. I'm sorry. I forgot to take my medicine. Who's in love? Anybody? A few people could. Oh yeah, of course. What's the secret?
I'm in love with you, Karen. I've been watching you and hearing you for the last 30 years.
And the same jokes too, huh?
That's why it's so great.
After about 50 lovers ago, it's not their fault. You guys should learn something. I brought this magazine. I love this. Years ago, it's been a while. On Our Backs. And they wrote this article about Margaret Gomez, Karen Williams, and me, and it's called 4 Comics We Wet Our Panties For. Yeah, I was like, I'm in a magazine about wetting your panties. It's been a while. Anyway, they called and said they're going to do a follow-up article on all of us. Really 4 comics that now wet their own panties. I do get to travel. I got to go to Salt Lake City. There's 3 queers there, and I had on my Sisterhood is Powerful t-shirt, and get harassed at the airport by the born-agains, so I killed them again. Don't worry, they'll be born again. Again. Stuff like that. I did get to do comedy in New York. That was like growing up in Richmond, California, you know, and the project out there, Atchison Village. It was like we didn't have much, but I thought, I'm gonna make it all the way to New York. And I played this place called the Gotham. And in the audience was Donna Karen, and I'm like, Donna Karen. First of all, I'm assuming she's probably judging my outfit like crazy. But then I thought, what if I married her, my name would be Karen Karen. If Snoop Doggy Dogg married Winnie the Pooh, it'd be Snoop Doggy Dog Pooh. Oprah Winfrey married Deepak Chopra, her name would be Oprah Chopra. Floyd Van Damme married God, her name would be Goddamn. I went to join a gym. It was opening day. They were serving food, and that was a joke. And the lady says, "We need to get a good exercise program for you. Let's take your measurements." And so she says, 36, 36, 36. Yeah, honey, you look like a hot water heater. Oh, if you can't laugh at yourself, you're screwed. Isn't it true? I don't know. What else to tell you? I did go to Salt Lake City. I did that. I went to Kansas. There was some comedy there. When you're on the road, you're like, oh God, you know, you gotta go to the hotel, to Denny's, and I'm craving sushi in Kansas. I know. I'm like, I'm trying to eat good because it's so easy to eat bad out there. And I found a place called the Sushi Barn. Yeah, it was Velveeta and Spam wrapped around seaweed. Some of you haven't heard me before, I can tell. Come on in, we just put our clothes back on. There's a couple of seats up here. Or I can bug you. I'll wrap it up pretty soon because I'm hungry, you're hungry, and we all want to get these cookies, right? Did I hear you? You smell them? For women especially, I guess men have their own kind of menopause, but women, I didn't know shit about menopause. And then my sister calls me and she says, I'm eating the neighbor's cat. As I think you have a mood swing. We go to UCSF, and this is the honest to God truth. There were 3 women doctors talking about the changes in hormones and menopause. And it's true, when women get really old, there's a condition called senile vagina. Google it. Your vagina forgets what it's doing. Well, was it going? Was it going? Who whistled? Was that me? Who whistled? You whistle when you get older, you know that. Your lips get loose. Everything's hanging, your lips get loose. I had sex with an older woman with loose lips, and be like, People, this is the original vagina monologue. I just want to say 2 quick things. First of all, there's a lot of butch lesbians that would have changed back in the day had science been a little better and they felt a little safer. It was back then, we didn't do that. And I did want to say about the Michigan Women's Music Festival with all the hoopla. For me, it was absolutely essential to be in a field with 6,000 women and reclaim each other's knowledge, and teach each other and share. No one wanted to be separate, but we needed each other. We had been, since the beginning of time, as females, told that we're a piece of property or whatever else we are. So anyway, I just wanted to share that a little bit. I don't want to go into controversy. Okay, the last thing I want to do, and I want you to do this with me. Please help me, because I know you like me.
It's true.
Okay, you gotta sing with me if you know the words, all right? Those were the days, my friend, we thought they'd never end. We'd sing and laugh